You have a routine. You probably don't even notice it anymore. Maybe it's the sound of your alarm going off at the same time every morning. Maybe it's the way you walk to the bathroom, then the kitchen, then back to the bedroom. Maybe it's the specific drawer you open to get your keys. You don't think about any of it, but your dog does. Your dog has memorized every single step of your morning routine with a level of precision that would embarrass most humans. And in the last 10 minutes before you walk out that door, something happens inside their brain that most owners never fully understand. It's not just sadness. It's not just excitement when you come back. What actually unfolds neurologically, emotionally, and physically in those final minutes is one of the most complex stress responses documented in any domestic animal. And the moment you understand it, you will never leave the house the same way again. Here's something that will make you think differently about your dog starting today. Researchers at the University of Vienna ran a study where they tracked dogs' behavior responses to their owners' pre-departure cues, the small, automatic actions people perform before leaving: picking up keys, putting on shoes, applying deodorant, checking a bag. They found that dogs began showing stress-related behaviors: pacing, yawning, lowered posture, lip licking. Not when the owner walked out the door, but an average of 16 minutes before departure. 16 minutes. Before you've even put your coat on, your dog's nervous system has already registered what's coming. How? Because dogs are, at their neurological core, pattern recognition machines. The canine brain has evolved to detect sequences, not just individual events, but chains of events that reliably predict outcomes. And they don't forget. Research published in the journal Learning and Behavior found that dogs can retain associative memories, the connection between a specific cue and a specific outcome, for years without reinforcement. Your dog doesn't just know that keys equal leaving. They know that alarm, then shower, then coffee, then keys equals leaving. The whole sequence, in order, every time. And that knowledge, that anticipatory awareness, is both a testament to how intelligent your dog is and the beginning of something harder. Most people think they'd know if their dog was stressed. They look for shaking, whimpering, destruction, obvious distress. But the earliest signs of pre-departure anxiety are almost invisible, and they're happening right now in dogs whose owners genuinely believe everything is fine. A 2020 study published in Applied Animal Behavior Science identified the following as the first-stage stress signals in dogs anticipating owner departure: excessive yawning, not tiredness, a calming signal the dog's nervous system produces under low-grade anxiety; lip licking with no food present; sudden, inexplicable scratching; a subtle change in ear position; increased blinking; following the owner from room to room at a closer than usual distance, what researchers call hyperattachment shadowing. These aren't dramatic, they're quiet. And here's what makes this harder. Many of these signals look, on the surface, like affection. Your dog follows you to the bathroom? Cute. Your dog stays pressed against your leg while you make coffee? Sweet. Except that in the context of a pre-departure sequence, what you may actually be witnessing is your dog trying to physically prevent the inevitable through proximity, not clinginess. Protest behavior rooted in genuine emotional distress. The body language is soft. The neuroscience behind it is not. Here's where it gets biological. When your dog recognizes a departure sequence, their hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis, the same stress response system that exists in humans, begins activating. In plain language, their body starts producing cortisol. Cortisol is your stress hormone. It's what floods your system before a difficult conversation, before a medical appointment, before something you're dreading. It sharpens focus, elevates heart rate, and prepares the body for threat response. Your dog's cortisol spikes in the last 10 minutes before you leave. A study from the University of Lincoln measured salivary cortisol in dogs at multiple points throughout the day and found that cortisol levels were measurably elevated before owner departure, not just after. The anticipation itself is stressful, not only the absence. And this matters for one critical reason that most separation anxiety research overlooks. By the time you walk out the door, your dog hasn't just begun to experience distress. They've already been in a state of physiological stress for up to 15 minutes. The cortisol is already circulating. The nervous system is already activated. What happens after you leave isn't the beginning of the emotional experience. It's the continuation of one that started while you were still standing in the kitchen. So you know what most owners do in those final minutes? They feel guilty, which is natural and honest and human. So they compensate. Long goodbyes, extra cuddles, a voice that goes slightly higher than normal, the one you use when you're trying to reassure someone. I'll be back soon, okay? You're a good boy. I love you so much. Be good. And every behavioral researcher who has studied this will tell you the same thing. That goodbye ritual, as loving as it is one of the worst things you can do for a dog who is already anxious. Here's why. Dogs don't process language the way we do. They process emotion, tone, and energy with extraordinary sensitivity. When you crouch down, hold your dog's face, and speak to them in a high, soft, emotionally loaded voice, you are not communicating, it's okay. You are communicating. This moment is significant. This moment deserves intense emotion. Whatever is about to happen, pay attention. You are, neurologically speaking, amplifying their stress response at the exact moment it needs to be calmed. A 2019 study in Frontiers in Psychology examined how owner behavior during departure affected subsequent separation anxiety symptoms. Dogs whose owners performed prolonged, emotionally intense goodbyes showed higher rates of vocalization, destructive behavior, and elevated cortisol post-departure than dogs whose owners left calmly and without ceremony. The love is real. The impact is the opposite of what's intended. So if emotional goodbyes make it worse, what actually helps? The answer comes from understanding what your dog's brain is actually seeking in those final minutes. Not reassurance, not drama, not a ceremony that confirms something significant is happening. Predictability, calm, safety signals. Dr. Alexandra Horowitz, a cognitive scientist at Barnard College who has spent decades studying dog cognition, describes a dog's relationship with routine as their primary emotional anchor. Dogs don't experience time the way humans do. They experience pattern. And when patterns feel stable and calm, the nervous system stays regulated. What this means practically is counterintuitive. The best thing you can do for your dog in the last 10 minutes before you leave is nothing special. Move through your routine calmly. Don't change your energy. Don't linger. Don't make the departure a moment. Some behaviors recommend what's called a departure anchor, a consistent, calm, low-key signal you give your dog every single time you leave. Not a long goodbye. A brief, quiet ritual. The same phrase. The same gesture. Always understated. Over time, this anchor doesn't signal distress. It signals, this is normal. This is predictable. You are safe. The goal isn't to trick your dog. It's to give their pattern recognition brain exactly what it needs most. Evidence that the world is stable. Now here's something that needs to be said clearly. An estimated 20 to 40% of dogs in the United States meet the clinical criteria for separation anxiety disorder. Not mild discomfort, clinical anxiety. And the majority of their owners don't know. A landmark study published in the Journal of Veterinary Behavior found that most separation-related behaviors occur within the first 30 minutes of owner absence. And since most owners aren't there to witness it, the condition goes unidentified for months or years. These dogs aren't being dramatic. They're not being destructive on purpose. They're experiencing something neurologically similar to a panic response, elevated heart rate, hyperventilation, inability to settle, complete dysregulation of the nervous system. Some dogs bark or destroy furniture. Those owners find out quickly. But some dogs go silent. They pace. They sit by the door. They don't eat, don't drink, don't sleep for hours. And when their owner comes home, they wag their tail and the owner thinks, they seem fine. They weren't fine. They were waiting. If you've ever set up a camera and watched what your dog does after you leave, you understand this. And if you haven't, the research suggests it might be worth doing once. Not to feel guilty, but to actually know what your dog's experience is and whether they need more support than you realized. So here's what's actually happening in the last 10 minutes before you leave. Your dog, who has memorized your routine down to the sound of a specific drawer, begins registering what's coming before you've consciously thought about it. Their cortisol rises. Their nervous system activates. Their entire emotional architecture, the same attachment system that bonds a child to a parent, begins responding to an incoming separation. They follow you from room to room, not because they're clingy, because you are their safe person. And safe people are about to disappear. The long, emotional goodbye you give them, it comes from love. But their brain reads it as confirmation that something significant and uncertain is happening. What they need from you in those last 10 minutes is the same thing they need from you every other moment of your relationship. Calm, consistency, the quiet reassurance that the world is predictable and you will return. You don't need to make it dramatic. You don't need to apologize for leaving. Just be steady. Be calm. Let the routine speak for itself. Because your dog isn't counting minutes until you're back. They're doing something far more ancient and far more patient than that. They're waiting for their safe person to come home. And when you walk through that door, the cortisol drops, the nervous system resets, and every minute of the wait collapses into the single, overwhelming fact that you came back. You always come back. And they never stop believing that you will.